Today we're going to look at what is not covered in a North Carolina homeowners policy. Now we're really going to nerd out and kind of dig into the policy details to find out what is excluded. Okay, so we're going to dig into the actual policy language of an HO3 policy. And as you can see under here, Section 1, perils insured against. So this just means what are we insuring against? And they're going to give you a direct physical loss to your property in coverages A and B, meaning any loss to your dwelling or other structures, which is the coverage B they're talking about here. But then they're going to take back and they're going to exclude a whole lot of stuff. So bear with me, we're going to run through these. The first thing that they're going to exclude is any kind of collapse, any abrupt falling down, as you can see here, loss of structural integrity, separation of parts, cracking, bulging, sagging, bending, leaning, settling, anything like that is not going to be covered. Next, we're going to look at freezing events. So your pipe freezes during cold weather, that's going to be insured against. However, as you can see here, the next exclusion is that if you don't maintain heat in your home for some reason, then they're not going to cover that frozen pipe. So imagine the home is vacant or you're out of town and there's absolutely no heat on the building, then you're not going to be covered for that freezing event, as well as these type of, frozen thawing pressure or weight of water or ice, whether wind driven or not, against fences, pavements, patios, footings, foundations, retaining walls, and here's this one, a pier, wharf, or dock. So think about if you have a dock and it is water is pushed against it and it separates or dislodges for some reason, which we've had happen with some of our insureds, that's not going to be a covered event for your dock. Next, we're looking at theft and vandalism. So theft is going to be covered as long as the dwelling is not under construction. You can see that right there. And then vandalism as well is covered as long as the home has not been vacant for 60 or more days. They don't like vacant homes in general. So they're going to put these provisions where if the home is vacant for 60 or more days, vandalism not covered. Up next is a common occurrence, which we see is mold, fungus, wet rot. These types of events are covered as long as it came from a plumbing, heating, air conditioning, or automatic fire sprinkler system on the residence premises, or a storm drain, sewer pipes, things like that. What they're not going to cover, as you can see kind of below here, is anything that, a roof drain, gutter, downspout, some type of mold that just is occurring naturally from the moisture in the air. They have to point back to some type of plumbing or heating, air conditioning causing that mold. Moving on to number 6, wear and tear. You see this a lot with roof claims where they are not going to replace your roof just because it's old and due to wear and tear. There has to be some type of peril that is covered on the policy that caused it, like wind or hurricane. Hail would be another one. So they're not going to cover mechanical breakdown. They're not going to cover smog. They're going to cover smoke from a fire, but not from an agricultural smudging, which I have no idea what that means. They're not going to cover the seepage of pollutants, as you can see here. They're also not going to cover, again, settling, shrinking, bulging, expansion, cracking of patios, footings, foundations, walls, floors, roofs, or ceilings. So if your patio is separating from your house, which we've seen before, maybe a deck or something, not going to be covered. Birds, rodents, or insects. This is one that we get every now and then. A raccoon gets up in your attic and eats through the HVAC system or something like that, not covered. Nothing really related to nesting or infestation of animals of any kind. Animals owned or kept by an insured. So your own dog chews through something or damages your property, not covered. Moving on to more exclusions. You see here ordinance or law. So if the government requires some type of regulation or construction, demolition, remodeling of your home, not covered. If we scroll up here, any kind of earth movement, you see that right there. Earthquake. Okay, you can buy back coverage on your policy for earthquake, but that is excluded on a standard homeowners policy in North Carolina. We see this in South Carolina a lot. They're more prone to earthquakes, people adding earthquake coverage to their homeowners policy. But any kind of landslide, mudslide, sinkhole, again, not covered. And now we're going to walk into some water. So flood, of course, is a very popular event that is not covered on a homeowner's policy, and it just outlines that there. Any kind of surface water, waves, tidal waves, tsunamis, tidal water, water that backs up through the sewer or the drain line. So this is, you flush your toilet, the water starts pouring out onto your bathroom floor. Not covered, but you can add that coverage back in, like earthquake. It costs about $40 a year to get $25,000 of coverage, which is usually the max coverage on a homeowner's policy for water backup. Moving on, power failure, neglect. So neglect just meaning you didn't take the reasonable means to make sure your property was in good condition. War, nuclear hazard, an intentional loss. So you caused a loss on your property on purpose. That's kind of obvious. And then more governmental action here due to planning, zoning, development, things like that. If you made it to the end of this video and haven't fallen asleep, usually reading a policy language does put people to sleep. I will say this, the companies we work with do their very best and take very good care of the customers for insured events that are on a policy. Obviously, they have to have a limit somewhere, and it seems like there's a lot of exclusions, but there's also a lot of stuff that they do cover, which we'll get into in another video. Thanks for tuning in.